Daniel signed the closing documents on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. His hands steady even though he knew his life was changing forever. The penthouse on the 42nd floor felt unreal as he stepped inside, staring at the floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Chicago skyline like a painting. The Brazilian walnut floors shone softly under the lights, and the marble counters looked untouched. "It's mine," he whispered, almost in disbelief. He had told no one, not his mother, not his father, not his younger sister. For the first time in his life, a victory belonged only to him. The decision to keep it secret felt natural. Daniel was 33, and every dollar used to buy the place came from years of sacrifice. He had started as an entry-level sales rep, slowly climbing his way to regional director in pharmaceutical sales. "Hard work pays, not luck," he always told himself. While others joked their way through meetings, he studied every product, every doctor's concern, every market shift. But when he looked back at his childhood, he knew why he stayed silent. His parents praised his sister for the smallest effort and treated his achievements like passing news. When Daniel graduated with honors, his mother spent the celebration talking about how his sister, Bella, finally passed her driving test, on the 4th try. When Daniel got his first promotion, his father simply said, "Maybe help your sister get a job where you work." Bella was now 29, still living in their parents' basement, drifting through life like success would somehow fall into her hands. She had tried 3 colleges and quit all 3. Her biggest focus was posting photos online, hoping to become famous. Meanwhile, their parents paid her car bills, her phone bills, even her gym membership. Daniel moved into the penthouse on a sunny Saturday. Professional movers carried everything in while he checked each room carefully. His furniture was modern and minimal. A charcoal leather sofa, a glass dining table, and a custom mattress that had cost more than his first car. He installed smart home controls and set security codes only he knew. The building felt luxurious with its rooftop terrace, fitness center, and 24-hour concierge. His neighbors were surgeons, lawyers, and business owners. No one asked personal questions. No one compared him to Bella. The peace felt almost unreal after years of pressure. 3 weeks later, Daniel received a text from his mother. "Lunch on Sunday. Be there." The message felt strange, too neatly timed after he had avoided family dinners for weeks. At the restaurant, he found his parents and Bella already at a corner table. His mother stood to hug him. "Danny, we barely see you anymore," she said, adjusting her bright perfume-soaked blouse. His father added, "Always busy, huh?" Bella barely looked up from her phone. They chatted lightly about weather and gossip, but Daniel felt it. Something was coming. They hadn't invited him just for lunch. Dessert had barely arrived when Daniel's mother finally sat up straighter, pressing her fork down like she was preparing for a speech. "Danny, we need to discuss something important," she said softly. His father leaned in, nodding. "We know about your new place," he added. Daniel froze for half a second but kept his face calm. "My condominium," he corrected. His father waved dismissively. Yes, the fancy one downtown." His mother sighed dramatically. "We heard from Mrs. Parker's son. Imagine our embarrassment, Daniel. Our own child buys a luxury place and tells strangers before telling his family." Daniel felt the old guilt try to rise in his chest, but he pushed it down. "I wanted privacy," he said simply. Bella finally looked up from her phone, rolling her eyes. "Privacy," she muttered. "That's rich, coming from Mr. Perfect." Their mother shot Bella a weak warning glance before turning back. "Danny, we're not upset you bought it. We're proud," she claimed, though her tone said otherwise. "But we think it's time you helped your sister. She hasn't had the same advantages you've had." Daniel stared at her, stunned. "What advantages?" he asked quietly. His father cleared his throat like he was delivering a business presentation. "Bella is ready to move out and become independent," he said. Bella smirked proudly at the word independent. "But rent is high," his father continued. She's working on her influencer career, and she just needs a supportive environment. Daniel blinked slowly. Influencer, he repeated. Bella tossed her hair. I have almost 10,000 followers, she said. Their mother leaned forward eagerly. And you have that beautiful second bedroom just sitting empty. It's perfect for her. The pieces clicked. They wanted Bella to move into his condo. The second bedroom is my office, Daniel said, keeping his voice calm. You can work in your dining room, his mother replied without hesitation. Or your bedroom. You always adjust easily. His father nodded in agreement. 6 months, maybe a year. Just until she gets stable income. Daniel stared at Bella, waiting for her to speak. He didn't. She simply looked at him with expectation, as if the decision had already been made. As if he existed to rescue her. No, Daniel said quietly. His mother blinked. What? No, he repeated. Bella is not moving in with me. Don't be selfish, his father snapped. Family helps family. Daniel rose from his chair slowly. Family also respects boundaries, he said. His mother's voice turned sharp. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. Bella crossed her arms. You always thought you were better than me. Daniel breathed deeply. I thought I was entitled to the results of my own hard work, he answered. He placed money on the table and turned toward the exit. His mother called after him, voice rising. But he kept walking. For once, he didn't look back. Daniel drove home in silence, gripping the steering wheel as the city lights blurred by. The restaurant air had felt suffocating, thick with guilt and expectations. But inside the quiet elevator rising to the 42nd floor, he felt something heavier, clarity. They really expected me to surrender my home, he whispered. The brass reflections around him seemed to nod in agreement. Stepping into his penthouse, he removed his jacket and stood before the windows. Chicago stretched endlessly beneath him. This place was his sanctuary, and he wouldn't give it up for anyone, not even family. His phone buzzed repeatedly. Messages from his mother, father, and Bella pouring in like a flood. Daniel read the first few. You're ungrateful. You embarrassed us. I needed you, Danny. He muted the thread and tossed the phone onto the sofa. Their words followed a familiar pattern. Pressure, guilt, blame. No one mentioned the fact that they were asking him to sacrifice his life for Bella's comfort. He made tea, wrapped his hands around the warm mug, and stared at the skyline. I won't apologize for protecting my peace, he said quietly, as though speaking to the city itself. Days passed and the messages didn't stop. His mother left dramatic voicemails. Family is everything, Daniel. You're breaking us apart. His father sent long emails filled with quotes about sibling loyalty. Bella posted sad messages on social media. Sometimes the people you love hurt you the most. Daniel ignored it all and focused on work. A new cardiovascular medication was launching, and he spent long hours preparing doctors for it. His colleagues respected him, listened to him, valued his expertise. For once, he felt appreciated without having to fight for basic fairness. 2 weeks after the explosive lunch, Daniel returned from a late business dinner and saw 3 missed calls from his mother. One text stood out. We're coming over tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss this properly. He read it twice. They weren't asking. They were announcing. Daniel sank onto his sofa, staring at the message with disbelief. They think my home is theirs, he murmured. The realization was sharp, almost painful. If he didn't do something now, they'd keep crossing lines. They'd show up any time they pleased. And one day, Bella would move in without his consent. Daniel spent the night thinking. He could confront them, argue at the door, or simply not be home. But he knew none of that would solve the real problem. His family believed they had rights over his property, his money, his life. They would keep pushing until something forced them to stop. I need a real boundary, he said to himself. Firm one. He opened his laptop and began researching security companies. By midnight, he had a full plan. A plan that would finally make his family understand that no meant no. The next morning, Daniel met with the building's security director, Mr. Harris, a calm man with years of experience. "Your concerns are valid," Mr. Harris said after hearing the story. "We can enhance your system." Daniel upgraded everything. Smart locks requiring both a code and fingerprint, new cameras with facial recognition, and direct alerts to a private security team with a 5-minute response time. Then he took the hardest step. He went to the police station and filed a formal trespassing notice. "Are you sure?" the officer asked. "This could have serious consequences." Daniel nodded. "I'm sure." The day before the visit, Daniel tested every device, every lock, every camera angle. Everything worked perfectly. With the system ready, he packed an overnight bag and checked into a downtown hotel. He had an early meeting the next day, so staying closer to the highway made sense. But that wasn't the real reason. He didn't want to be home when they arrived. He wanted the boundaries he set, not his emotions, to deal with their actions. Lying in the hotel bed, he kept checking his phone every hour, waiting for morning to come. His meeting the next morning went brilliantly. Daniel stood before a conference room of doctors, explaining clinical results with confidence. He answered questions smoothly, even as his smartwatch vibrated again and again. At 10:15, he finally glanced at the screen. "Motion detected at your front door. Multiple individuals attempting entry." His heart raced, but he kept presenting. Years of discipline held him steady. Slide after slide, he delivered the medication's data while alerts continued flashing silently. Unsuccessful entry. Alarm triggered. Security notified. When the meeting ended, Daniel hurried into a private hallway and opened the security feed. The footage showed his family standing outside his door. His mother pressed the doorbell repeatedly, irritation twisting her face. His father checked his watch, sighing angrily. Bella leaned against the wall, scrolling on her phone like she had nothing to do with any of this. After several minutes, Daniel saw his mother pull out a key, one she had no right to have. She tried it. The digital lock flashed red. She tried again, jiggling it. "Unbelievable," Daniel whispered. His father took the key next, trying to force it. Then he tried sliding a credit card inside the doorframe. Bella groaned. "Just call him." His mother snapped. "He knows we're coming." But Daniel was not home, and the system was doing exactly what he designed it to do. Then something worse happened. His father called a locksmith friend, Dennis. Daniel watched the man arrive with a toolkit. "Legally, I need permission from the owner," Dennis said nervously. "We are his parents," his mother insisted. Dennis backed away. "I'm sorry. I can't." The family looked shocked and furious. Moments later, Howard, the building's security guard, walked calmly toward Daniel's family. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. Daniel's mother immediately softened her voice. "Our son is expecting us, but his lock seems broken." Howard shook his head. Mr. Daniel left specific instructions. No one enters his unit without his direct permission. Daniel's father puffed out his chest. "We are his parents." "I understand, sir," Howard replied. "But this is private property." His mother's patience snapped. "We're not leaving," she yelled. Howard's eyes hardened. "If you refuse, I'll have to call the police." Daniel watched as his mother's face twisted with anger. "You would arrest a mother," she shouted. She looked straight at the camera like she knew Daniel was watching. His father tugged at her arm. "Let's just go," he whispered urgently. But she pulled away and began pounding on Daniel's door with both fists. "Daniel, open this door. You cannot treat us like strangers." Neighbors opened their doors, watching quietly. Bella tried to pull her back. "Mom, stop. This is embarrassing." But she wouldn't stop. Howard stepped aside and spoke calmly into his radio. Backup was coming. Within minutes, 2 more security guards arrived, followed by 2 Chicago police officers. The hallway fell silent as the officers approached. "What seems to be the issue?" the older female officer asked. Howard explained everything: the unauthorized entry attempts, the refusal to leave, the disturbance in the hallway. Daniel's mother switched instantly to a trembling, sorrowful tone. "We're her parents," she pleaded. The officer remained unmoved. "Do you live here?" she asked. "No," his parents admitted. "Then you are trespassing," the officer said firmly. "You must leave immediately." Daniel's mother stared at the officer in disbelief. "This is insane. A daughter locking out her own family," she cried, turning to the watching neighbors as if expecting sympathy. She received none. The younger officer checked his device. "A trespassing notice was filed 3 days ago, naming both of you." His father's face drained of color. "This must be a mistake." "It's not," the officer replied. "If you do not leave, you will be arrested." Tears filled his mother's eyes, but her voice grew harsher. "I'm not going anywhere until my son speaks to me." Daniel watched in disbelief as his mother planted her feet and crossed her arms like a stubborn child. His father tried again. "Please, let's go," he begged. But she shouted louder. "I have rights." That was the final trigger. "Ma'am," the officer said, stepping forward, "you're under arrest for criminal trespass." His mother shrieked as the officer gently took her arms and placed cuffs around her wrists. His father panicked and stepped forward, grabbing the officer's arm. "Don't touch her," he shouted. The younger officer moved fast, taking him to the ground in a firm, controlled motion. Within seconds, both of Daniel's parents were handcuffed. His mother sobbed uncontrollably, gasping out broken words. "Daniel did this, our own son, he destroyed us." His father stared at the floor, silent and pale. Bella stood frozen, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Mom, Dad, please stop," she whispered. But her parents were too overwhelmed to hear her. The officers lifted them gently and began escorting them to the elevator. Neighbors watched quietly, some stepping back into their units. Before the elevator doors closed, Daniel's mother looked right into the camera. "I hope you're happy, Daniel." The doors shut, leaving only silence and Bella standing alone in the hallway. Howard approached her kindly. "Miss, I need you to leave too." Bella nodded weakly. "I know. I just need a moment." She wiped her eyes with the back of her sleeve. Then she looked straight into the camera, straight at Daniel watching miles away. Her voice trembled. "I didn't want this. I didn't ask for any of this. They just kept pushing you, pushing me. I guess they thought you'd never say no." With that, she walked into the elevator, shoulders slumped. Daniel sat in his car outside the hospital, hands shaking as the video ended. The consequences had unfolded exactly as he planned, but watching it hurt more than he expected. Part of him felt guilty, but a deeper part felt relieved. "They pushed me into this," he whispered. "I warned them." He drove home later that afternoon, the city passing by in soft shades of gold. When he stepped into his penthouse, everything was peaceful, almost untouched by the chaos of the morning. He closed the door behind him and exhaled slowly. His sanctuary was still his. He reviewed the footage again, this time on his large TV. Every angle, every shout, every refusal to listen. But what stuck with him most was Bella's face, tired, lost, and strangely honest. His phone buzzed constantly throughout the evening. Extended family members flooded him with angry texts. "How could you have your parents arrested? Family comes first. Your mother is devastated." Daniel read them all once, then sent a single message to everyone. He included a short clip of the attempted break-in. "Here is what happened," he wrote. "I chose to protect myself." That night, Daniel cooked a simple dinner and stood by the window as the city lights glittered below. This victory felt strange, heavy, not joyful. "It feels like loss," he whispered. But he understood why. He wasn't losing family. He was losing the illusion of family he had carried all his life. Illusions that someday they might treat him fairly, respect him, value him. He finally saw the truth. The relationships he longed for never actually existed. His phone rang. Bella. Daniel hesitated, then answered. Daniel, she whispered. They're being charged, both of them. Daniel stepped away from the window and sat on the sofa as Bella spoke softly through the phone. They're devastated. Too. Their court date is in 3 weeks. Daniel listened quietly. Why did you go along with them, Bella? He asked. She hesitated. Because fighting them drains you. You know how it is. I just gave up. Daniel sighed. You can still change your life. Bella let out a dry laugh. I'm 29, living in a basement with no degree. But, see you now. You're serious. You're done being the family's safety net. 3 days before the hearing, Daniel's mother finally called him directly. Her voice was small, almost unfamiliar. Daniel. The lawyer says we'll be convicted. Daniel leaned against the counter. I know. She swallowed hard. This will ruin us. Your father volunteers at the center. I'll lose my board position. We'll be criminals. Daniel closed his eyes. You committed a crime. It was just family, she insisted. We only wanted to talk. You tried to break into my home, he said calmly. And Dad interfered with police. This isn't about family. It's about boundaries you refused to respect. His mother's voice cracked. What do you want from us? Daniel paused. Even now, she wanted him to fix her mistake. I want you to take responsibility, he said softly. To stop treating me like a resource. To stop using me to cover for Bella. Silence filled the line. You've become so cold, she whispered. This isn't the son I raised. Daniel breathed in slowly. The son you raised learned to give up everything to keep the peace. That version of me is gone. He ended the call gently, without anger, just certainty. Daniel didn't attend the court hearing. He sat in his office instead, reviewing reports while his phone buzzed. Bella texted. Guilty. 6 months probation. Community service. Daniel read the message and felt no triumph, only acceptance. Bella added. They want to talk to you now. Daniel thought carefully. Total silence wasn't the answer. Distance was. So he called Bella. If they want to talk, he said, I'll meet them in a public place. 1 hour. No guilt, no demands. If they start pushing, I'll walk out. Bella exhaled. Fair enough. I'll tell them. 4 days later, they met at a quiet coffee shop near the Garden District. Daniel arrived first, choosing a table in the back. His parents entered looking smaller than he had ever seen them. Aged, humbled, stripped of pride. Bella sat beside Daniel, a subtle sign of where she now stood. His father began. Thank you for meeting us. We know you didn't have to. Daniel nodded once. His mother's hands trembled around her cup. We've been going to therapy, she said. Not because the court required it, but because we finally understand what we did. Daniel listened as his father continued. We treated your success like it belonged to all of us. We let Bella depend on you instead of learning to stand on her own. His mother dabbed her eyes. We told ourselves we were protecting her, but we were avoiding the hard work of fixing our own mistakes. Bella looked down at her hands. I'm working now, she murmured. It's small, but it's something. I want my own life. Not one handed to me. Daniel studied their faces. For once, they weren't demanding anything. They were owning their failures. What happens now? Daniel asked quietly. His mother straightened a little. We finish probation. We keep going to therapy. We learn to be better parents. And we respect your boundaries. His father nodded. We hope that someday there can be a relationship again. A healthier one. Daniel breathed out slowly. I need time. Real time. And understand this. My home is off limits. That boundary will never change. His mother nodded, eyes red but sincere. "We understand." It was the first time Daniel believed she meant it. 6 months passed, and Daniel watched their actions from a distance. His father completed extra community service hours without complaint. His mother continued therapy and began volunteering at a women's shelter, helping others find stability. Bella moved out, sharing a small apartment with a roommate. She worked as an assistant at a marketing firm, building structure into her life. Slowly, Daniel agreed to occasional dinners, neutral places on his schedule. They talked respectfully. No guilt, no demands. When his father once mentioned Bella's car troubles, his mother quickly changed the subject. The shift was real. Daniel's career thrived. He rose to vice president of the Midwest region, earning more than he ever imagined. He purchased a small lakeside cabin in Wisconsin where he spent quiet weekends reading and kayaking. His family situation was stable but distant, healthy distance. He and Bella grew closer on their own terms, sharing coffee sometimes and talking honestly for the first time in years. He never invited any of them to his penthouse. They never asked. That boundary remained firm and respected. The city below continued to glitter each night, reminding him how far he'd come. 5 years after the incident, Daniel stood at his window watching Chicago glow against the night sky. The life he had built was peaceful, steady, and fully his own. His parents carried the lessons of their mistakes, forever changed by the consequences they once tried to avoid. Bella was growing into her own life, no longer relying on him to survive. And Daniel? He had learned the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes protecting yourself means letting painful chapters burn, so new ones can grow. His boundaries had saved him. His no had rebuilt his life. And for the first time he felt completely free.